Hi everyone and welcome back to the Impact Her series done in collaboration with Incubay with the TheCapitalNet TV. Today we have with us the founders of our partners Incubay in order to understand how the community building aspect works for the startup and investment ecosystem and how it will fare for the women founders that are thriving within it. With that, let's jump into the video. Thank you, Eashita. Thank you, Deeksha. Thank you so much for taking our time for TheCapitalNet TV and welcome to the Impact Her series.
Right back at you, Apoorva. We're very excited to be doing this. It's a pleasure to really talk about and set the context. And I'm glad that my co-founder Eashita is being able to join us.
Thanks, Apoorva. Super excited about this.
So now with two women in business that I have over here, who have been in business for so long, how do you see an evolution in perception of people that you interact with, especially in the startup and the investment ecosystem, and how have you seen that perception evolve? Maybe Eashita, you can take this and then Deeksha can add to this.
Sure. Thanks, Apoorva. Actually, I'd like Deeksha to take it because I feel like she's seen more of the evolvement and then
Yes,
I will take from there.
Perfect.
So just as kind of, go back to my personal experience when I was starting out as a founder in 2012, 2013. I was at St. Xavier's in Bombay, which is one of the best colleges. And even there, I was the only one in my entire batch of 60 and larger batch of 450 students that was actually maybe becoming an entrepreneur. Right. And then, of course, any events, any meetups, I was probably among 1 out of 3 women in a room of 100 odd men, right? So we've seen numbers from there. We've seen no initiatives for women from there to today where, diversity has, for the better or worse, become trending, right? People want to see more women in leadership. Whether it's triggers like the amount of funds being dedicated by billionaires like Linda Gates, McKinsey, Bezos, whether it's corporates putting norms on having women on their boards or leadership teams, or even VC funds and investors very, very pushing their founders to actually have women in leadership, as they sort of grow and scale the company, right? And I mean, sort of even at Incubay, our sort of thesis is that we want to back companies both from a network as well as an sort of capital perspective, teams that are diverse, teams that are open to having women and men equally, right, in their leadership, in the teams, as well as on the investor side, right? So I feel the trend has really evolved, and like I said, right, there are success stories that have attributed to it, whether it's a Falguni Nair of Nykaa or Brittany of Bumble. 10 years ago we didn't have these role models. I think the trends have really changed. We do have a long way to go, but I think we are on a very bullish path. There is a strong silver golden lining, if I may say. And excited to see how this pans out.
Eashita, if while you can also weigh in on this, I would also request if you would, do you think that there was a trigger, there was a shift, there was something that triggered that shift in this perception where people were like, yes, there has to be equal opportunities being created for both men and women? Do you think that there was a trigger, especially in the Indian context, if you may, that just allowed this whole sort of a revolution, if you may, to come by?
Sure. So, Apoorva, I'm going to, answer the first question that you also had, which was on how has it progressed? What are the trends? How has it moved on? And this comes from the fact that, like I mentioned before, when I was in college is when I saw the Flipkarts of the world coming alive. And I'm like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur someday. I want to build something of my own. But did I have enough people to look up to? Did I have enough role models to look up to? No. Today, do I have them? Yes. Today, are we being some of them? Yes. Also, coming to your question about the trigger or the point that is there, I feel like slowly just again coming back, a lot of role models coming into it, and then certain mandates, certain trends that were there came in. I would like to be very transparent and say that it is means to an end. While a lot of people look at diversity, sustainability, and a lot of these terms as an opportunity, some people truly believe in it. Some people do it because it's great for branding, great for PR. But I would like to sit back as part of the community and ecosystem and say, if a problem is getting solved or if a gap is being, narrowed, as long as it's being done in the right way, even if the intentions are not completely the same as what ours are, it is okay, let that happen. And I feel like just women in the startup ecosystem or diversity in the startup ecosystem has evolved because the startup ecosystem has evolved.
That completely makes sense. As you said, like maybe there might not be just like one that pinpoint, the point where you can say that, okay, there was a trigger, but it's a progression. And as you said, it's a means to an end. Today, it's a necessity. You need to have you need to have a diverse, a management team. You need to have a diverse team. It just makes more sense. Now, with Incubay, with both you and Deeksha, there's a community that you're building. There's an ecosystem that you're fostering, right? So, when it comes to that community building, why did you feel the need? While we have obviously more than enough emphasized on the fact that there is a need for representation and things like that, the Indian ecosystem needs more community like these. What will essentially be a potential advantage of a lot of these communities cropping up?
I would say one is the need for these, and I would say more of the existing communities collaborating. I believe that networks and communities are your strength. The fact that most business comes from references, most connections or most hiring happens from reference. You learn so much more from people as human beings. You could read, you could watch, but you absorb the most from people around you. It's very often said that, you are what the five people around you are. And if I'm in a community where I'm hopefully not the smartest, then I'm in the right place. And we've always gained from this network or community that's there. At Encubay, it was very important for us to put this together for multiple ways. So when we talk about what we do at Encubay, also we work very closely with women founders on their growth journey, mentorships, partnerships, being the bridge between corporates and startups, being on your entire investment journey. And the idea is that if I create that safe space, I create that community, especially for diverse founders or women founders, they get to do everything within that community. So I feel like the power of a community is infinite. It is what you take out of it. And I feel like another very important aspect is the collaboration. So at Incubate, while we are building this network and community, we are strongly working with all our other partners. That could be, certain could be credit partners, certain could have, their own founder communities, their own investor communities. I feel like CapitalNet itself is a community of its own. And we're coming together to amplify that impact and say that people need people. Let's get everybody together so that we're all on the same ground and trying to amplify the impact together.
I think just an extension of that, Deeksha, if you can add on to exactly as just generally, if people are watching, what would be a merit to be associated with a network like that? What is the advantage of being, associated to a women-led, network? And especially maybe we can bring in exactly what Incubate brings to the table in such a scenario.
Yeah, so very good question. And, we're also ever evolving how Incubate can add value to female-led and, male-led businesses, right, at a whole diverse companies. And, just to kind of give you a timeline. So when we started about 2 years ago, there were about 350 incubators in the country, private, government-backed, corporate. But I did not see even one talking about women, right? Or that was actually actively approaching women or had that focus. So we said, let's start a female focused incubator. Let's run a cohort. Let's maybe have whatever, 20, 30 companies. And we did that. We got a phenomenal response. We had 500 startups apply within less than a month. And, we kind of proved that there are enough women running scalable, sustainable, investable businesses. But soon, we realized that, if you really want to add value to startups, it's a lot more than just having generic sessions. You really need to work with the teams hand to hand, help them crack partnerships, help them grow globally, help them raise their first angel round, if at all, right? Give them the warm intros. We actually add a lot of value, right? But we want to make sure that we do it with just a select few that we are super, super bullish on, right? So that's how Encubay works from a founder point of view. And we're actively involving a lot of corporate partners who also want to be engaged with the community. And I will get Ishita to speak on that.
Thanks, Deeksha. So, Purva, I think it also comes from that when you talk about the startup ecosystem, very often people are only talking about founders or startups. What we don't realize is it's an ecosystem. We all need to, be in it together. We need to coexist. We need to support each other and see what is the best resources, what is the best that we can get from each other. So at Encubay, we look at startups, partners, corporates, investors. And when we look at, corporate partnerships or how we work with corporates, is in multiple ways. We become one of their bridges between startups and corporates because startups are ever agile, ever innovating, somewhere lack funds and resources. On the other end, while corporates look at ever innovating and have their innovation teams and have a lot of programs around that, there are a lot of restrictions in terms of, the amount of time it takes, certain approvals, certain thought processes, and is this always a priority or not? At Encubate, we've got access to an amazing community, India, Dubai, globally, that is there. Oh, and this is, I would say, is a very strong primary community.